welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Blue Green Ocean Road. Your host, David Stenberg. What's going on?
I'm I'm reading
Oh,
Krakauer, classic Krakauer.
okay.
There's
Anything in particular?
yeah, it's one on Outward Bound, how it started, how it became an industry, about children dying. Hey, did you ever go out to Utah?
Yeah, that was.
Was E hunting?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because Brigham Young University had a lot to had a big part like right.
For outdoor magazine.
I'm not sure who he wrote for. These are all free.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did.
He did.
Mike.
Hey boys, how goes it?
So read on. So
Oh,
Brigham
so-
Young University.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. It's just all the. Yeah, I thought of you because it had to do with Outward Bound. You know, he had.
Oh yeah.
He was reporting on death of a kid because. Well, it was just a history, and I thought of you.
Was it Outward Bound?
It started.
Or was it? There were several. No, go ahead. At Utah, there was a couple of programs. It wasn't Outward Bound.
Oh, no,
What was the name of that program?
It took off.
It was similar, only very vaguely similar to Outward Bound.
Yeah.
But they would take kids.
It was a money grab.
I mean, you could get them. These are troubled teenagers. You could actually pay them. They would come and they'd send some goons over to grab the teenager up in the middle of the night, throw some shit in the bag, and bring them out to Utah and run them through this program. And the first day of the program was, we got 10 miles to get to lunch, and here's your bags, and we're going to go to lunch. You know, lunch is 10 miles up this trail or old desert road, and well, anyway, it was a pretty harsh, group dynamic based program that ended up killing a couple of kids. I guess very famously, and I think Krakauer did report on that. I think it was sort of in the same business once upon a time, back in the 90s, where my professional career actually peaked, and it's all been downhill since,
I wouldn't say that.
So
He wrote the article in '95.
that was it. Those were the glory days, man. That was it. Anyway, yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, that needed to be exposed. It was pretty harsh. It helped some kids, but it was a very harsh program. And, it was, I think, trying to remember all the details about it. There was a very charismatic guy who started this program.
Steve
And
Catasano? Catasano? He's an Italian Cherokee.
He had one guy that was really good. I think he was. But what did Krakauer have to say about it?
Well, this guy.
I might have read it at the time, but I can't remember.
He said, well, it started. The whole thing started when the British were losing all that shipping in '42 to U-boats, and it turned out that like the really young sailors, like 18, 19, were the ones that first die at sea when they were stuck in rafts and stuff. So they started a camp, like Outward Bound in England, and to toughen them up, sort of like boot camp. But what you're familiar with, the Outward Bound stuff,
I think you're right. I think Outward Bound did start. Outward Bound did start, and yes, you're right. It did start in England.
Yeah.
Was Outward Bound just for troubled
Well, I
kids?
understand.
No, it was for teenagers who kept
No.
dying at sea.
No.
Oddly enough.
'Cause I remember when I was a teenager, I wanted to do Outward Bound, but Ma couldn't afford it.
There was a girl who
It was
who
similar.
volunteered.
National Outdoor Leadership School.
I just wanted to go on all those wild hikes and camping stuff.
Join the
Well, you
army.
could. I think the best, the National Outdoor Leadership School, where you could sign up and you could be. They would take you on all the adventures, teach you all the adventures. Outward Bound, similar. Then they did the. They started plugging like troubled teens into some of these groups, and because you had some high functioning teens around you, you could kind of bring up the person who was having a hard time.
Yeah.
And when you pack the groups too full of dysfunctional teenagers, then you have a dysfunctional group, and the whole group dynamic thing goes out the window.
Then you
You
need
have
someone like
trouble,
Chief
You have
George to
danger,
get their ass
you have
out.
death. Well, I can't work miracles. And the Campy Hunty thing was, well, let's see how many kids from the training school we can pack into this program and still see if it works. And the answer to that was no, couldn't make it work. All these, very troubled and very dysfunctional teenagers
Well, I'm sure you had
Just kinda
a good influence on them.
tipped the apple cart.
Regardless. Even if it didn't work, I'm sure you had a good influence.
Well, you're very kind, but you're very kind, but it was tough going.
Just to be an example, I mean,
It,
who's a better
Yeah.
example? you know?
Well, not me.
Well, I beg
No,
to
I
differ.
know there were some people I really admired. I mean, there's some people that were just amazing people. They're just, really skilled at the outdoors, really skilled, group dynamics, personality-wise. Those people I really admired, and they came and went. Pete Weaver was one of those guys,
Yeah, but I'm sure he'd say the same about you.
Anyway. Again, you're being kind.
No,
No, but anyway, it's so. Thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, it was it works good in theory. If the kid, if you took like one of those kids from the training school and put them in a group of fairly high functioning teenagers, then the kid would do one. It's the peer pressure, it's the peer group dynamics that does more than the adult leadership. I mean, adult leadership is still important, but it's kids learning, it's kids problem solving, it's kids helping each other out that they most respond to. And if you can't make that happen, then your group's not going to be a success.
Yeah.
If you have too many, bad variables in the group, it's just not going to happen. It's very difficult to make that happen. But they tried to have group, and we did try, and we had some success, but ultimately it proved to be very dangerous when you get kids axes in the middle of the woods with not much support. Things can get out of hand, and they did.
And they did. Huh?
And the programs out in Utah, was too much. The program is a little too extreme for some of these kids, and they died. And so I think that's what Dave was talking about, the Krakauer article in Outside Magazine up in Utah, some of the programs. Now, the program in question wasn't Outward Bound, but it was based on an Outward Bound kind of thing. But this was a different program altogether. Anyway, I didn't mean to sidetrack your discussion but he's talking about a Krakauer article.
Yeah, exactly
Think
what
he
you're
wrote
talking
that.
about, George. It's all a trick. I lit a little fire and I let you go. Looks like the fire burned out,
All
so
right.
it's time to pick up the ball again. It was called the North Star incident. Does that sound familiar?
North Star, yes, that's the name of the program. Yeah, very famous one. Yes. Thank you for my brain doesn't retain
Oh, it's
everything
my brain ain't
anymore.
doing it. I underlined it in the book. Brain.
But yeah, that was pretty.
Brain.
You could pay these people. If the guy was making, some money. Like if you had a troubled kid and you had the dinero, they'd come pick up your kid. They'd fly him out there.
Yep.
And throw him in the program. So here's a backpack, some clothes, water, and lunch is up the road 10 miles. Let's go. Either you get up there to get lunch or you go hungry. Yeah, you want a warm fire, you want some water, there it is, 10 miles up the road. In theory, that's a good program. I mean, most high-functioning teenagers would say, oh, no problem, 10 miles up the road, there's lunch, there's water, not a big deal, We have to get up there as a group. One guy's having a hard time, you help him out, get him up the road, But
all right, so I've seen the opposite. I've seen a high-functioning group, and they were very successful with getting kids to do stuff and to learn leadership. It was our local Boy Scout troop.
Sure. Well,
it just had an abundance of high-functioning kids, and there were a few that were not so high-functioning that were lifted up, like you said. And, we had to get kids up and down a mountain, and they didn't want to just leave me behind. No, we can't leave you behind. You got to keep going.
That's right. Hang on, so just grab another.
Whoop. Hey, Mike.
Hey, how you doing?
How are you?
On hat.
Nice hat.
We were
Anyway,
just talking about
what I was
string theory.
What? What are you guys talking about?
I was going to say, like a high functioning kid. Like I remember going right from the. We were talking about youth programs and group dynamics and things. I went from really just violent did with a group of teenagers from France.
You freezing up, or is it me?
These are all functioning kids.
George.
Good. I mean, it was amazing to see. It's just kind of an amazing contrast to see high functioning kids. Teaching them stuff and then learning and not giving you shit all the time about doing basic chores and stuff. But yeah, high functioning kids are good groups of kids to work with.
Yeah, in our Boy Scout troop, the whole thing was about teaching kids leadership. Every kid had a chance to be leader, and the kids got to do the kids. Like you said, they learned things from each other. The kids got the other kids to do stuff. It was all about that, all about getting the kids into leadership positions so that they could learn what that's like, and they got other kids to do all the camp chores and all that stuff. It was a really good experience, I think. But we're a small town,
and they're the ones that. Yep. They're the ones that call each other out for their bullshit too, so it's not an adult doing it.
Right.
Mikey, was that a real cage? Was that bullshit? That fucking chain link around the Uber driver?
That was a picture from somebody posted in like a Uber group on Facebook.
What kind of neighborhood is he in?
You need a plexiglass cage, Mike, so you don't get all them germs.
Yeah.
Spit shield, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't get shot.
Pukes.
Yeah, bulletproof
Projectile
plexiglass.
puke screen.
And you need like
a lot of work.
You need like a steam cleaner in the rest of your car, so you could just like press a button and disinfect the car.
What? I can't hear you. What?
Yeah, take him down Oakdale Road.
That was
really
a funny
fast.
picture, though.
That'll fix him.
I thought that was a pretty funny picture, though.
Yeah.
Chain link fence.
I thought it was you at first.
You really think I would do that?
Who the fuck knows?
Why not?
That's wacky, man. That's fucking whack right there.
You know, you wear that.
No one
hat,
would blame
anything's
you.
Possible.
That's fucking whack, man.
Nah,
Hey,
it's all
man,
right.
I missed the social out there. You kidding me?
I'm just picturing it.
Only, I gave a woman a ride she was a teacher at the Dover High School, and she lived in Hampton, and she was a sports medicine. She taught sports medicine in high school, and I'm like, sports medicine in high school?
What the fuck is that? Don't eat candy bars? What the?
It's like high school's come a long way since we were in high school. Man.
I know. She's the doper.
Sports medicine, yeah. I'm sure it was a very introductory, level, but still,
Yeah, how to use a needle.
Well, I talked to. You remember that group that French kids? They're all high school kids, and like most of the European model, they teach kids a profession like at grade 10 in high school. And that's when you start your vocation. It doesn't matter whether you're an electrician or you want to be a doctor. Your vocation is begun in high school.
That's smart, man.
And that's like the European
Smart.
model. Yeah.
That's smart.
I know the Irish carpenters I come in contact with, they all been to school for carpentry. Like they have a real school for it. In America, you learn from going to work for some guy. You may learn right, but you may learn wrong way of doing things. But you just learn whatever that guy's method is.
Yep.
These Irish guys, man, they come over here and they're like way better carpenters.
I know a guy who framed a house with finish nails because the boss ran out of real nails, so he said, "Finish it up with these." And he drove by the house periodically to see if it was still standing.
Shit.
Guy I knew, he says, like, "When did that happen?" He said, "I don't know, 20 years ago. It's still there." It might have collapsed now, but that was in the 90s. Well, yeah. Well, you've worked for people, and there's all kinds of shady shit. Like, I fed people worms and donuts well, it wasn't me, but I made I was making donuts one night, right? And I had to weigh out 10 pounds of flour and make a dough with other stuff, right? But 10 pounds, I put it in. When I first got there, it's like time to make the donuts. It really was like that. I'm not really awake. So my third dough, I'm doing the third one. I'm almost done. And I noticed the flour's moving a little bit, right? So I go up close, right? And there's those little worms. They're like white. They're like mites. I don't know what the fuck they are. Like
Mealworms. Well,
they were fucking half of the
Well,
flour
Flip-
was them. Right?
Chickens would
So I
love
called-
those.
I called my boss, right? And I tell him, and he comes down with flour from his house, like his wife's flour, to make the last dough. And now I'm assuming with all the donuts I've made already, they're topped, they're in the shell, you know what I mean? Ready to go. Cops are gonna come in any minute now, right? And he goes, "Nah, we'll just roll with it." So the rest of the morning, I'm watching people he's talking to him like he's a really a real God-fearing man. He goes to church on Sunday, all that, right? And this morning, people he talks to every morning, he's feeding worms to, right? There was one customer I thought was like suddenly he seemed like smart to me because he used to come in every day, and he'd ask me what was good today. He asked me, right? So I said, have a cake donut, like just a cake donut, like, and he went, all right, and he had a cake donut. Cake donut doesn't use flour; it's a different mix. Had nothing to do with the flour, like an old fashioned, yeah, like old fashioned. That dough, like at the top, it'd be like a ring of uncooked dough at the top. It did it like that, and the minute it got that ring, where it looked like like a river, like a moat of dough. You flipped it, and it would fall in the fryer, and then that ring on top, like an old fashioned donut with that weird like fence or something. I don't even know what to call it. Right, that circle. I thought that was weird. I never figured out how did they do that? How did they make? I don't know. Oh, it was cool. It was on this thing. You did this, right? It was like a hopper, and it had a crank, and when you turned it one, it would spit a ring. It was like making smoke rings, only it was like dough rings and funk, funk, funk into the deep fryer, you know. So anyway, I told him have a cake. Don't he did went home. He's the only guy who didn't eat worms that morning.
I mean, we live in a.
What they say.
We live.
Bird gets the worms.
That's right. We live in a day and age where that's probably less likely to happen. But think of throughout history how often, there's always vermin in the flour and the grains and stuff, and you just cooked with it and ate it anyway.
Oh yeah, there are accounts of whole towns just losing their minds or being possessed by devils when it turns out like it was just at the bakery, like the flour was moldy.
Yeah.
With a certain type of ergot mold that was
grew on rye.
LSD, and so everybody was tripping because the flour was infected.
Huh. I about ate a few of them donuts then, just to see.
Yeah.
Then check
Hey, these
out
are
the
good donuts.
population of Yakima, see how they were doing later on in the day. See if the traffic pattern changed a little.
Their protein went up anyway.
Oh yeah.
Get more
They were
protein.
both
Probably,
they
probably
were.
did them a
Probably
favor.
the healthiest donut those people ever ate. They actually got something that morning. Said, "Well, peppy today." I don't know why.
Doing you a favor.
Life is
About
good.
getting ready for the work world. I remember the day in Pontigansett where they said they made an announcement. Okay, who's going to college and who's going to work?
Yeah. Who's going to
And
jail?
I'm like, I was like, because nobody in my family ever went to college. I was like, I guess I'm going to work. So I got in that line. Of course, I did go to college, but I mean that's just to just one day lay that on a kid.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay, you're gonna make the choice today. You didn't know this was coming. Are you going to college or work after high school?
Well,
Two
an
different
astronaut.
groups.
I want to fly into space.
Just work.
Yeah, I remember a social studies history teacher had us all in middle school. He goes like this. He goes, I can guarantee not one of you kids in here are ever going to be in political office.
Oh, yeah. Fuck
Let
it.
alone run for president of the United States.
Right.
It's just the way it is. And
They were brutal.
Well, hey, why do we think running for president is like the highest thing we can achieve in this country
I know,
anyway?
right?
well, I mean, for years it was. I mean, it still is really.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, it's a very high achievement.
Look, I don't care what party they're from and what president we're talking about. Every fucking one of them. There's something wrong with you if you really desire that kind of position and power.
Yep.
There is something wrong with you here.
Of course.
You
have to be a certain amount of narcissist. You have to have a certain amount of ego that will get you that far.
That's right.
It'd be impossible. You would fail miserably if you didn't.
Yeah, like I did. Look at me. I failed miserably.
I'm surprised that you're not emperor of the universe.
Fuck. Put me on spaceship and everything.
You're king of space.
I saw this one picture, and it's like the guy's running for president, and behind him is this big crowd, and there's like all the flashing, the signs, and all this shit, and you're going to be surrounded by Secret Servicemen for the rest of your life,
Yeah.
Like, who the fuck would want that?
Well, it's good to be the king, man. It's good to be the king.
I guess, but there are other ways of being the king,
Yeah.
way more private,
Yeah.
Arthur C. Clarke wrote a book, Songs of Distant Earth, and it's about seed chips. they just sent out these ships that if they found a habitable planet for human beings, it would actually raise. They bring out the embryos, you know. And the sea ship found a planet that was all ocean except for like a landmass the size of Hawaii. So this was their society. This was several generations in, right? And the way they picked a president was it was a lottery. And it didn't matter. Like you could end up with the dumbest person on the island, but fuck it. This is like seems to be the best way to do it. You did it a year. It was like jury duty, you know. And you know, like once in a while you get a bonehead, but you could get rid of it. It wasn't like you were stuck with them.
It's a syndicated anarcho commune does things like that.
It sounds like the Sirens of Titan. It sounds like that book. Remember?
Yeah, what's that?
Sirens of Titan. And if you wanted to be president, you were automatically disqualified.
Yeah. That was
That's
that
what
was
we
the
need.
qualification. They'd ask you, "Do you want to be president?" You go, "No." Well, you're it. Yeah, Cyrus the Titan was great.
Yeah.
Dude.
Anyways, I wouldn't want to give up that. Again, for any kind of fame, never mind president, any kind of fame.
The other thing is, man, it's not just you. It's like your kids, your family. You know,
Yeah, like,
it puts them in a shitty position. You know.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
And you got to be followed by these people for the rest of your lives. You're never going to be like able to go off alone in the woods by yourself or anything. You know, like who would want to give up, like even fame? Like who would want to give up that privacy that you have as like a nobody? You know, so that everywhere you go, you're surrounded by people. Either you're surrounded by Secret Service men if you're a politician, or you're surrounded by fans who want your autograph if you're a movie star or whatever. Like, wow, who would want that?
Most people would love a shot at fame until they get it. Then they realize it's shit. And then
Right.
they try to get away from it.
Help me, Western Wizard. I don't want to be a celebrity anymore.
That's why there's those stories of presidents sneaking off. You know, like Obama just used to go in back of the White House and have cigarettes.
Yeah, Bill Clinton used to go off
like,
and, you know.
Like
it's like
that famous Nixon story where him and Jackie Gleason went off.
on a drunk and golfing, and he took him to see the alien bodies or something like that
Yeah,
at an Air Force base.
Yep.
And then he became totally obsessed with aliens after that and built houses in the shape of UFOs and stuff like that.
Jackie Gleason built a house the shape of a UFO after that night. Nixon showed him something.
Right to the moon.
To the moon, Alice.
They were
There's
drunk.
always been famous tales of the king, you know, sneaking off, and the king or the princess or the prince sneaking off and seeing how like regular people live.
Yeah, see, there's those tales though. Everybody finds out though, don't they? You know, you have to sneak off in the dead of night. You know, Jimmy Carter and his wife want to go fishing, right? So they're fishing, and like, you know, a rabid rabbit comes out, but there's like, you know, there's all these Secret Service men along the shore on both sides of the river. There's press there. Everybody's watching them, like, and they're out fishing, right? Some rabid rabbit comes out and attacks them. Some kind of Russian rabbit.
Yeah. Well, he famously gave up Secret Service protection after he left office.
Yeah, that's right.
Most presidents don't do this. They retain that for the rest of their lives.
Well, Jimmy didn't really do anything to piss anybody off seriously.
Well, that's true. I read his book about the outdoors and his life in the outdoors. It had nothing to do with politics at all. It was just like stories about fishing and hunting and growing up. It was pretty cool. I think he was the last president we had that has had any love for the actual land of America.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, Canada had the Trudeaus, you know, both Pierre and Justin. They both like avid canoeists and campers, and like they love the land. They love Canada, you know. We always have like these urban guys who don't really know anything about the land, you know.
Golf courses don't count.
No.
Hunting clubs and Texas hunting clubs and things like that.
Yeah. That's,
Oh, and George H.W. used to go to Labrador for moose hunting
did he really?
and whatnot. Yeah, every
Nobody
year.
beats
So.
Teddy Roosevelt, though, man.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, just for sure, for sure.
Yeah, you gotta keep.
He was the man.
Yep.
Yep.
Hey, we're number one, you guys. We're number
What?
one. Providence ranks least affordable metro area in the United States. Lucky
Wow.
me, I'm right smack in the middle of it. They say you got to have at least almost 41 an hour to make it here, right? Was it right?
Wow.
That's what, yeah. And I'm aware of this. Like the mean rent is average. The mean is 2,100, and I'm at 17. I'm almost there.
Even more than Honolulu, Hawaii, even more than San Francisco.
God
Is it-
damn. You're number one.
I thought that too. I said, "What about L.A.?" I go, "Oh yeah, L.A. ain't there no more." I guess we were number two. You know, nothing to rent and a smoldering.
We ain't even number two.
No, we're
P,
number
baby.
one.
Big P.
I don't know. I thought that too. Really? Oh, come on. I'd have been better off not knowing that. At least I was like in this false reality of like it ain't that somebody's got it worse than me. So right?
I think it's skewed though. I think it's a little bit skewed, like the east side. You know, the
As
east
bad as
side
I thought.
skews the.
Well, yeah, but every city has an east side, Mike.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, even places like the west end of Providence in the last 25 years have been a huge up and coming neighborhood. You know, expensive, renovated Victorian homes and tenement buildings and stuff like that. Certainly, Federal Hill, all those places become prime real estate.
Yeah, that place used to be just for like the the immigrants, like the people who had the least amount of money. That's where they lived.
Right.
Well, the thing
That's
is,
where, that's where the kids used to go. That's where they used to go when they wanted an apartment, you know, and move out of the house. They used to go to shitty apartment in Providence, you know.
Yeah, $50 a month, $150 a month.
Lots of
for-
cockroaches.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the urban experience, you know.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Roach wrangling. You know you do. You don't step on them because now you just got a lot of smashed fucking cockroaches everywhere. It's best just to
Yeah,
let
you
'em
got
move
some
on.
more
Yeah,
food for the
don't-
other cockroaches to eat.
Endless parade.
So, here's my question: what is it that eats cockroaches out here in the country?
People who
I
eat
would
hamburgers.
imagine it's a host of rodents eat cockroaches. Certainly, my chickens would eat cockroaches if they
But we
got a
don't
hold
have
of
it.
them.
Donuts.
Like, there's a lot of
People
people
who eat donuts.
who move out here from the city, and they would, you would think they would be bringing their cockroaches with them, which they do when they move. But there's definitely, it's harder for a cockroach to live out here.
Well, occasionally you'd come across houses with cockroaches.
Oh, yeah.
out
Yeah,
here.
yeah, they're here.
Certainly, I've been for working on the ambulance corps and being in some of these homes. Yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Maybe that was more of the case back then. But yeah, I mean, it's the more rodents you have, the more cockroaches are going to be eaten, I think.
They're not
And,
going to leave. They're
Well, we
there.
got
Certainly
rodents.
chickens. Yeah.
Shrews. Shrews are there.
Oh yes, shrews, bulls, mice, maybe. I don't know.
I brought roaches to a new apartment. I came from the one apartment when I went to another one, and I saw the whole idea was to get away from the fucking thing. So, like the second day I see a roach, I go, "What the fuck?" Right? And I realized that they're like wearing my stereo or TV, stuff like
Yeah.
that. So when I moved, I always leave my shit outside for a while. I went to. I got at a place on New Year's Day, up in New Bedford. It was this really nasty old mill, right? That did prints. It was like a print shop, but a print factory that put patterns on cloth, so it was all wet and it was all this. Anyway, I hear something, my first round, and I look over at a table, and like these two antennas come up, and then this giant roach comes over, and I said out loud, nobody there, "Fuck, look at the size of that roach." And I've seen big roaches. I've been in the Philippines, right? Those fucking things have personality, right? So I took my radio and everything. I put it in the back of my back of my truck, right, and just left it there. The rest, 16 hours, it was out there because they'd been in the building a little while. So I took it all back out there and fuck, I'm glad I did. That place was full of them. Holy shit.
Wow.
It was a monster. It was huge. I was impressed.
Huh.
And I never thought I'd
Yeah, how big?
It was
he
the
had a
granddaddy.
I know in Florida they have them pretty big, but they're called water bugs down there. But
Africa's
Some of
gonna
the cockroach
got flying.
family.
Palmetto bugs.
Everything's worse in Africa. There's fly. Of course they do, right?
the flies that lay larvae under your skin, and you have to wind them out with an old fishing reel. They become so big.
You tempt them. You have to tempt them out with food. You put food over here, and they come out. They grab them.
Yeah, but then you put them on a reel and reel them out.
Hey, you guys ever
Well,
made friends with
those are the-
crows? Have you ever done that?
No, I made friends with a pair of red tails when I was a kid.
That's cool. You just
I used
fed
to
'em?
show up and they'd start yelling at me. I'd yell back like at the same way, you know. And we just every time I went over there, we'd have this conversation.
I was thinking. I found this on the web, of course. You know, make friends with crows, right? And there's calls.
Yeah.
And they like shiny things, right? They're smart. This one guy was saying that he didn't know, but there was these crows that go in front of his car. They was like every day, the same spot. And then he realized they were leaving seeds, right? And they were using the cars to crush seeds open, right? So then he realized it. So he'd see what they were leaving, and then he'd stare towards it, like he'd make sure he went over them for them, right? So they were starting to show up just for him, like they started to learn. So there's other things. They like shiny things. Like if you have you could get like washers at Home Depot, right? The ones that are really shiny, where you can almost like little mirrors. You know what I mean? Those really like chrome ones, right? And just give them one of them. They think that's a shit. They'll bring you back something like a bottle cap or some fucking thing, right? They start doing that, and they remember your ass, right? If you're mean, they remember that too, and their offspring is like that whole murder. Will always remember that you're a dick. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of times Laura's bought big bags of peanuts because she was going to make friends with the crows.
Yeah.
And then I ate all the peanuts.
Made friends with you instead.
I like peanuts.
Yeah.
Human
Crows go back to their groups and they talk about it.
Yeah.
See, there's a real asshole that lives over there.
Yeah, that guy's a
Don't
dick.
go near that guy.
Yeah.
Yep. We've
So
got
it's
ravens
cold.
and crows over here. We got these ravens like around October. They're always like right here in the back of our woods here, and just an old crowd of them. They make a lot of noises.
All the ravens, they're like mating pairs. It's the crows that have the groups, right? The crows,
Well,
crows
there's
that
actually
have
groups of ravens over here too. Not just two of them. There'd be like, half a dozen of them.
So those groups, they call them murders.
Yeah. Murder.
Murder of crows. But they got to realize they have to have probable cause to become.
There's calls. You can get calls on Amazon. And there was one guy, he was describing calls, like what they meant. Like sometimes they're just checking on each other and shit, and others is like, hey, there's something going on, or we found food, stuff like that. Yeah, of course, there's all different dialects and whatnot, but
Yeah, the crows over here, like get together in the morning and they'll just make a lot of noise and they all just fly off in different directions. Like they have a board meeting first thing in the morning and they all go off and do their thing,
everybody gets a mission.
Yeah.
We're
going to go fuck with these guys.
scouting
We're
party.
going to go fuck with those guys.
Yeah.
We're going to go over there.
Watch out for that guy.
Once when I was a kid, I was playing with a crow. I was in the woods, and he was on a branch, and I went up to see him, and then he flew to another tree, and then he caught at me. So I went over to that tree, and then he flew to the other tree, and like we started doing this thing. Like
Oh, cool.
it was fun.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't flying away from me. He'd only fly a little ways. He wanted me
Yeah. Yeah.
to like chase him.
That's cool.
I spent a lot of time in the woods when I was a kid.
So you made a friend with a crow. So there's
I
one.
guess so. I guess
They can
so.
talk too. They can learn to talk too. You know.
Yeah. You got to clip their tongue. They do. You have to do something to them.
Yeah.
That ought to make a good
I don't know
friend.
if this. I don't know if this story is true, but when I was a kid, my a friend of mine's father used to tell this story about how they used to play like football in the yard, and the crows used to sit up on the wire.
Oh
And
yeah.
when the
boy.
ball got too close, they got too close to the crows. They used to go, "Fuck you!"
Oh, the Raven, nevermore.
There was a parrot at Roger Williams Zoo, right? That was by the population, and it had a filthy mouth, like fuck yourself" and all that shit, right? And the other parrot was back with the ducks, right? It was like back there, and it was sounded like a duck. It was making duck noises. It was quacking. So it went over there, was quacking. The one up by the people is just swearing its fucking head off, right? It was, yeah.
Oh yeah, you got to imagine every kid that walks by a parrot says "fuck you,
Oh, yeah.
eat shit."
Yep.
Yeah, I had a. Speaking of wilderness groups and things like that, we had a kid from Woonsocket. Had never been out of Woonsocket his whole life, and so his first night in the woods, I think it was about early August. And at night, the woods is like alive with noise, like all kinds of insects and whippoorwills and chirping and stuff like this. And he woke up in a panic saying like this, "There's ducks out there. There's ducks. It sounds like ducks." I think they're like mostly like crickets and things like that.
Mm.
But they were so loud, he was thinking that the whole campsite was surrounded by ducks, and he thought it was somehow they're all going to come get me or whatnot. I can't sleep. The ducks are everywhere.
It's a reality tunnel, man. That's what his brain was doing.
Ducks.
His brain
Yep.
was interpreting that shit as ducks for some fucking
Well,
reason.
that's all our brains interpret anyway, is
Yeah.
what we know,
His head went ducks. That's ducks.
Yep.
Yeah. Oops. Yeah, with socket. Yeah, your brain would be kind of mushy.
I mean, I could see that. That would be kind of scary to get to death.
Hell
you
yeah,
know?
man.
Yeah, well, never hearing that, like just hearing the city sounds your whole life.
A bullfrog? What would a bullfrog
father-
sound like to somebody who didn't know what the fuck it was?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, those are pretty loud.
Give me that cracker. Give me that cracker.
I'd be scared.
Even whippoorwills at night are pretty wild. They're like relentless.
Crackers in there. I know it.
Yeah, I missed that sound. That sound of the bullfrogs, like in the middle of the night
Oh,
when
they're
you're out in the
loud.
middle of a pond bass fishing. Man,
Really loud. Like annoying loud. Like, shut up! You're ruining everything. I used to do it up at the campus. I'd get city boys, That was one of the tests. First it was like a 7-story stairwell. They made it to the top of that. Then I'd take them out by the fence line where everything's moving around, deer, name it. Just stand out there and wait till something breaks a twig. What the fuck is that? Right? I had guys not come back. They were completely freaked out, and that was the end of it. So, and
Thanks.
if one of those two things failed, then I'd watch movies. I wasn't going to train them on the site. If they couldn't get to the top of the stairs or stand by the fence line. Oh, you know what I do? They said, "All right, check this out." I'd get we had a big spotlight flashlight, so I'd whip it across the woods, and all these eyes would look back. Mostly they were fucking cats, We had feral cats. Those feral cats were great. They'd start off, of course, there'd be a lot of kittens, but at the end there'd only be like 2, out of all of them, and they were kick-ass. There was a kick-ass ones. They would just eating up mice. They were great at doing everything, alpha cats. And you could get them. If you got those, if you had mice problems, that's what you want. You want to get one of them. You find them in bonds. My grandmother had, we had a bond cat from my grandmother's house. They didn't feed them. They were just on their own in there, because they were there to get the mice. So you take that home and
Right.
My
They earned
cat,
their
I
keep.
had a cat once, and it attacked a dog. There was a dog out front, and it was like screaming, like it sounded like a kid, right? Screaming.
Oh, yeah.
But it was a dog, and my cat was on its back. It was a shepherd, and it was screaming like a girl, right? And then, but it was young. It was still sort of like, I don't know, like say 5 months, getting kind of big, but that size. Well, that shepherd came back. I remember it came back, right? Like it's big now, right? So it was like you could tell, like, where's that fucking cat, right? But we had cat was gone. Put it back in the barn because my mother turned out to be allergic to it. So I did have a cat for a minute, Salty, because my dog's name was Pepper. So,
Nice.
Salty.
Yeah, Salty, of course. Who knew?
Salty.
Right?
Salty the cat.
That's what I named my cat.
Salty
I had
Brian.
one cat. I've had a cat.
And then if you moved him inside, you'd have to rename it Smelly.
It wouldn't have it. The cat didn't want nothing to do with inside. I'd be inside, but didn't want to.
Yeah, we had one cat that didn't want to be inside. He was cool. He lived to be old age. He was out in the woods, never got eaten by coyotes. He lived to be old age. He was one of those cats, and he had a buddy that came with the house. This cat came with the house, and his buddy came with the house, was a hang around the house cat all the time. That one got eaten by coyotes.
Yeah, that happens too. I had a milk customer, right? She had a cat and a dog, right? So the cat and dog were like best friends. So the cat got out once, right? Ran up to another dog, like, oh, dogs are cool. And that was the end of the cat, because that cat, that was like sad. I was like, oh man, I was like, she was telling me she was all broken up and shit, right? And it's like, yeah, it's still, look, I'm still a little misty, all these years later.
Well, I didn't get sad about that one cat because it was a pain in the ass. And then when it got eaten, I was like, yeah,
Problem solved.
problem solved. Thank you, coyotes. But the other
Just
cat,
solved a lot of problems, yeah.
that other cat was really cool. And like, I'd be out hunting, like, I'd have my tree stand like way out in the woods, or I'd be out in the woods, and all of a sudden we'd run into each other. We'd look at each other like, wow, what are you doing out
Oh
here?
yeah, that's cool.
We're
Yeah.
doing the same thing, And he only came in the last 2 weeks of his life. He went up and just started hanging out with Sequoia for the last 2 weeks of his life. And then he died. But he lived his whole life outdoors, didn't want nothing to do with coming in.
I remember that cat.
The gray cat.
Yeah. I remember that cat.
Yeah, it was all gray.
You told me that.
Yeah, he
You
was
said, this
cool.
one's wild. I said, this is a cool cat then. Yeah, it was like it was Mike's cool cat because it wouldn't come in. Yeah, it was just hanging out.
No litter box.
The
Just
world
hung
was
out.
his litter box.
As it should be.
The world is my litter box.
Yes, it is. Title. We have a title.
Oh, man.
It's a good one.
Hey, so what picture did you settle on for the Blue Green Ocean Road? I like the one with the UFO in that circle.
Oh, yeah, that's supposed to be a reality tunnel. I didn't call it that. I was just trying to.
I
make
like
it-
that one.
Yeah.
That was my favorite. That was my pick. Just
What are we
you-
supposed to
in
pick?
case you're interested.
Nah,
In case you're interested.
just telling me which one he liked. Those are great. I fucking I'll just sit there, and I'll just open up Gemini and just start giving descriptions. I was going, it gets.
I mean, they're all great.
I
I
had a
should
fishing
put like a
boat,
different
lobster
one each
fishing boat
week.
getting attacked by a giant lobster, right?
Yeah.
I'll say that one. It's funny as hell because like there's lobster fishermen, right? And then there's a lobster coming out like, what the fuck, you motherfuckers? Those are my kids,
Be true for like an octopus, like
All I'm saying is, thank your lucky stars, octopus only lived 2 years. If those things could live 80 years, they'd rule the world.
Are you sure? Like, is there just a specific species that lives 2 years?
Yeah, there
'Cause
could be
I thought I heard one that was
longer.
80 years old. I thought I've heard an account of one that lived 80 years.
Those are the ones that are flying the
haven't heard about
UFOs. The
It
old
might be a
ones.
Yeah.
different species, yeah.
It's like an alien genetic code from. They're not sure how it could have developed on Earth, but who knows?
George is working it out, though.
Love it.
Well, I'll have to sit around because while you guys aren't around, I sit around and I listen to my chickens.
Me too.
And if you listen to them long enough, they start to talk to you, and they have all kinds of wild conspiracy theories and stuff, man. It's just,
But you learn the secrets of the universe from those hens, man.
nah, they're mostly just assholes talking about each other.
You laying?
I'm only. I did get There was a spurt a couple of weeks ago, but now I'm still down to one a day.
Yeah, all these false springs popping up. They think it's spring and they start laying, and then boom, it's winter again.
It's all right. Next week, I guess, it's going to be kind of a little bit warmer.
You're gonna get inundated soon.
I'll be fine. I'll have eggs to give away. I've been trying to eat whatever egg I get a day. I eat it.
Oh,
Hey, that was a good article you sent about about lard and some stuff I didn't know about lard and whatnot. That the commercial grade lard is not necessarily that good for you
Doesn't sound
because they hydrogenate it. Yeah, it's like we've been cooking with lard and beef tallow, and it's really good for you under the right circumstances. It's much better for you than seed oil.
Yeah, and you'll never get stuck in a pipe. Shot right
Bacon
through.
grease.
Bacon grease going at all times.
Yeah, bacon grease is good. I bought like a slab of brisket like this big from Walmart one time. It's like mostly fat, so I cooked down the fat and got a nice couple of jars of beef tallow that I've been using.
That's good.
It is good.
Makes your
Makes
food
everything taste good.
Yeah, it don't even take
Yeah.
much. Just helps.
Even baking.
Throw it in
I made
like
some
beans.
brownies with some lard. They came out pretty good.
Lard ass.
Lard,
That's right.
lardo.
They got some bad rep. Talk of seed eggs.
Oh, Mike.
Seed oil ass. That's they're the ones that cause the obesity. It's the seed oils.
That's right.
My wife,
Hydrogenated vegetable oil. Crisco.
my wife teaches
Mazola
8th grade.
corn oil.
Oh, all right. She teaches
Your
8th
wife?
grade, right? And that's her worst class at St. Philip's. This is so odd that she teaches 8th grade at St. Philip's, And she had to conjugate the word in Spanish. She had to conjugate the word to come, right? And then she was just she was like talk. She was like getting mad just thinking about it, right? It's just like bad experience at work. Because to come, like, all of a sudden the 8th graders, they're going crazy with it, right? Like your grandmother is coming,
What did she expect? She lives with you, Dave.
But I realize
She said my grandmother's coming.
yeah. That's all I heard. She was yelling Italian. She she got blah, 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 right, and then my grandmother was coming and blah 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 blah. She was just complaining. She was like, women will just get, if you bring up something that pissed her off like 20 years ago and you bring it up, she'll be just as mad right in front of you as she was 20 years ago. If you let that memory go. Have you ever seen that? Is it just me? Anyway.
What?
It's
Just
like
see
they
what?
bring back like you can get, if you want a woman to get mad and you know something that made her mad in the past, you can remind her of it, right? And then she'll be mad again, as mad, like it just happened.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so it's not just me.
No, it's not. You're not alone in this, Dave.
No, but I brought it up and you guys looked at me like you didn't understand. Well, I guess
This is a reality tunnel we all share.
I'm incoherent. It's just that I'm incoherent. It's me. I wasn't transmitting my thought, but I got it through. So anyway, she thought of that, and she was as mad in front of me as she was in class when it was going on. You know what I mean? So she started
Yes.
talking really fast in Italian, and then that one, my grandmother is coming, and all that. And I was, oh fuck! I started thinking about it later. You know, it was one of those. It was one of those. You know, I could suddenly I just got the giggles. I couldn't stop.
It makes me laugh.
All week. I've been because she did it last. It was last week that she had to conjugate the word to come to 8th graders.
That's right, kids.
I come. You
I'm
come,
here all
you
week.
come,
Try
we
the
all
veal. Tip your waitresses.
Come on. There's, do you remember Sister Mary? I told my wife about Sister Mary. She's the word gay. She said gay, which brings us back to our double meaning. I remember how she just flowed out of it. That was like the one moment I was impressed. I went, oh, that was good. Which brings us back to our double meaning. Yeah, because she had to say the word gay in context of something else. Yeah. It's so weird.
Good old Sister Mary.
I told her, I said, I wasn't, Mrs. Grenga. I thought, think about Mrs. Grenga.
Yeah.
That's a tough
That's
job.
a reality tunnel I don't share.
That's,
It's a particular hell that me and Dave went through together.
Yeah. It's the same place, too. It's the same room.
Is it really? Of course it is.
Yep. She might retire from that place this year.
Oh, yeah?
Call it a day up there. No more St. Philip's.
Okay.
That's good. About time.
Getting there.
So, Salty Brian. What happened to him?
He
He
died.
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 Thud.
I think in the 90s, maybe?
I don't remember. Salty Brian. And his dog. What was his dog's name?
I don't know, but that was Salty Shack. Remember after school watching
I don't remember
Salty
that one.
Brian and
I know
Salty
it existed,
Shack?
but I never saw it as a
He
kid.
played Popeye cartoons.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Well, Salty Brian, he's a huge local personality, TV and radio. Salty
No
Brian.
school. Foster Gloucester.
Ah,
Say it, Salty.
That was him.
Say it, man. Oh, that's
Yep.
another thing my wife does. She likes snow days. Come on, snow day. It's
Yes.
the thing with her. It's all
that's
there.
right.
I got to relive everything, Mike.
Most
It's a constant reminder.
close to Gloucester, no school.
No school.
Yeah, that's Salty Brian.
That's why we're all tradesmen out there in Gloucester, in the sticks. In the sticks over here.
I don't know if it's you or if it's me, but you're like
Chopping. Yeah.
jumping and
Choppy.
choppy.
Who?
George was earlier. Now it's you.
I'm choppy? Just me?
Beep. Yeah.
You're real choppy now.
Beep. Beep.
Oh,
Beep.
well, you say something.
Yeah, now you're behind.
But anyway, post more of those AI generated images and stuff. Those are great. You can use a different one each week. You know, I think they're all great. But you know, use variety. Show. I mean, each one of them's unique. So,
Yeah, they're awesome.
like I said, my favorite was the four of us facing the ocean, or the image of. That was kind of interesting. But anyway, all right. So, Mike, what are you doing? You got to put up a spit shield on your Uber, and
Yeah.
what's up with that?
It's a big shit. Nah, they just roll down my window a little bit. Get the
Yeah.
wind going that way.
Yep. The wind just they cough and you can sneeze and it ends up in the back seat.
Set up one of those VAP systems in my car, that the hospitals use.
Yeah.
You need a laser, like that cab driver in Heavy Metal. And the girl pulls the gun on him, and he hits the button on the floor, and she
Yeah,
just
the third pedal.
disintegrates.
Yep.
No, I mean, I don't get any problems.
It's not a cash business, right? It's all done with cards, credit cards.
Oh yeah.
No
Phone.
cash involved at all.
Yeah, so there's no reason to rob you.
No.
It's all done on the app. All done on the app.
And the apps
And
are
the
what?
app.
I'll tip you on the app. When they say I tip you on the app, you don't get no tip.
That's
I tip you on the app.
right.
Okay, bye.
Well, boys, I'll
See you
tip
next
you
time.
guys later.
Give you the whole tip.